Hey everyone, Mr. Overon here with Mr. Overon's Tarot Reading Services, and today I just want to talk about familiars and how they really integrate into our lives. On February 16th, I had to put my familiar down, and she was such an integral part of my life over the last 13 years that it is absolutely heartbreaking to not have her physically here with me. And I know a lot of times witches and practitioners of the craft may not consider their household pet a familiar or whatever, but in my regard, my Bella girl, she was my familiar. Whenever I was doing any kind of spell work or grinding up herbs or lighting up candles, whatever, she had to be right there with me. And it was almost like she was lending herself to me and lending her energies to whatever it was that I was doing at the time. And tomorrow, which is Wednesday the 23rd, will be 1 week that she hasn't been in my life. And it's been very, very, very difficult. I've ran the gambit of emotions. Like, I've gone from absolutely giddy and happy and manic to not being able to get out of bed for 3 days. And today I'm kind of in that like middle ground mode. I really haven't done any kind of spell work or anything like that just because I'm grieving, and not having my familiar is like not having my right arm. So, what makes an animal a familiar versus just being a regular pet? Familiars usually want to be included in everything that you're doing. So, like with Bella, she wanted to be where the action was. If I was sitting at the kitchen table working on an herbal concoction or making up a talisman or a new wand or whatever, she had to be right there watching me and just or laying on my lap or whatever. If I was standing at the altar and casting, she had to be right next to me. So in my own personal definition of familiar, that is a familiar. So a cat or an animal that has to be part of the action. Just a regular everyday pet would be like them just laying in the living room while you were working your magic or whatever. That's not to say though that your dog can't be your familiar, or that those other animals, even another cat, isn't a familiar. But just in my own definition and terminology, I consider that a familiar versus a pet. Do you have to have a familiar that is like a dog or a cat? No, it could be a bird, it could be a goldfish, it could be a rat, it could be anything that you have an emotional attachment to, or that you want to include in your spiritual practices, and not include them in like sacrifice. That's not a familiar. But just if you want to work magic utilizing them. So like if you had a goldfish that you wanted to consider a familiar, your goldfish could be the embodiment of the element of water and sun because of its color, or the god or the Lord, God, whatever you want to call it, because of its color. So there's many different ways that you can work it, but just for my own sake, like I said, my definition of a familiar is an animal that wants to be where the action is. So if you're casting a spell, making a talisman, doing any kind of magical sewing, or doing anything with magical intent and purpose, then the animal wants to be right there. So in the process of going to the veterinarian and everything, I wasn't prepared to let go of her that day. I thought it was just going to be a routine visit, checkup type situation to see why she was breathing so funny, and to kind of figure out like what our plan of action was. They found 350 milliliters of fluid on her lungs, and well, that's how much they removed off of her lungs. And they tested it and found that it was cancerous. And as soon as I heard the C word, I was just like instantly broken. And the doctor said that they could put her on several different medications, but they weren't guaranteeing that her lungs were not going to fill back up with fluid. That it was basically like putting a band-aid on a dam at that point. That the medications that they would give her to fight the cancer would be detrimental to her in the long run, because it would either cause kidney failure or heart failure. And if the fluid on the lungs did not clear up, that she would end up drowning in her own fluids. So I decided to end her suffering and start mine. And I'm gonna try not to cry, but it's still really fresh. And so when the doctors had left and let me have some like goodbye time, I just prayed to the goddess, and I just said, if this is what is supposed to happen, then let her go in peace. Let her journey be peaceful. And sorry for crying. But so it's been hard, and working with energies and stuff like that, as you do as a practitioner, I can still feel her around, but it's not the same. And the house feels empty without her here. Last night, there was some activity in the house. A bunch of stuff that fell that had no reason to fall. And it's where there's a bookcase right here where I usually keep my Book of Shadows and some accoutrements. And stuff from there fell that had no business falling. And there was a lot of activity throughout the house. So I don't know if that was some other low-level being, or if that was her energy or her doing those things, because she never really bothered with that area. So I don't know, but I'm heartbroken, and I have been trying to actively find a new companion, and it has been extremely difficult to do so. So I think today what I'm going to do is, since it's February 22nd of 2022, and we have 222s across the board, that I am going to do a candle spell tonight to draw a new familiar to me, and just hope for the best. So anyways, take a moment today to really appreciate your familiar and think back on all the other familiars that you've had in your life, and maybe do something a little special. You know, if you have a dog, go get him a puppuccino or something, or make a special meal just for your animal, and just celebrate them and give them that love, that little extra love. So anyways, yeah, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, put them in the comments section down below. And if you would like a tarot reading, you can go to the website memebership.com and schedule a tarot reading there. I also had a question for everyone. I was thinking about starting up a magical podcast for Mr. Overon's tarot reading services and whatever else. So please leave it in the comment section if you think that would be a good idea, and if that's something that you personally would be interested in. And if I get enough positive responses from that, I will then go ahead and see about creating a podcast for witches and witchcraft and things of that sort. So anyways, also, if you can shoot me an email, mroveron@gmail.com, and I will talk to y'all later. Bye, witches.